Season 48, War number 8, and we're up against TCN, and this time my team will be White Tiger, Dust and Toad. We'll be taking Path 1 in Section 1, Path 1 in Section 2, and then I will be taking Black Widow Deadly Origin, Gorr, Black Panther Civil War, Adam, and Bullseye mini-bosses. So once again, quite a few fights, a few new ones as well, and a couple pretty confusing placements. Either way, more on those once we get there, and starting off here we have a Void on the personal space regeneration node, and I will be taking this fight with White Tiger. Now White Tiger does have the class disadvantage here, which can be quite scary on some specific matchups, but since this node does nothing but actually just make White Tiger stronger, I figured it should be fine. So basically the game plan is to get to a special 2, throw it, which will then inflict the bleed debuff on the opponent, which prevents all of their healing, steals the healing for White Tiger, and then nullifies all regeneration buffs on the opponent, giving you a ton of power from Mystic Dispersion. That essentially means that even though I can't use the Mystic Powerback boosts here, I will still be gaining a ton of power to be able to simply spam my special 2s, which should make the fight quite simple to take, while also keeping the regen in check. Now the last thing that Void has here is the debuff damage, but as long as you manage your combo properly, by going over multiples of 10 whenever you have the debuff or are about to get one, you will just remove it, and being able to spam multi-hit specials like that is very helpful in, well, doing so. And then next up here we have a Jabari Panther on the Masochism Overtime node, and I'm taking the fight with Toad. To start off with, the game plan is to just try to get her to hold block and dash back, so I can go in, spam my light attacks into her block to stack up the tactic prowess, and as soon as I get 3 or more, I will be free to inflict any debuffs I want on her, without worrying about the Masochism node triggering. So while the cleanse still removes my debuffs, the Masochism node itself will not, so the regen will never trigger. Now one thing that I didn't really consider before is that even though I'm lowering the opponent's Purify ability accuracy, they can still shrug off Toad's poison debuffs by dashing around, which either means that the Purify on those is not affected by ability accuracy, or it's affected by Toad's personal Purify ability accuracy. Either way, it still works here, allowing me to get those passive poisons every now and then, allowing me to melt the fight a little bit faster, though even then, Toad's specials do hit very hard once you get ramped up. I guess they do still hit fairly hard even without the ramp up to start off with, but it gets a little bit ridiculous as the fight goes on. And then next up here we have a Hulkling on the Never Back Down node, and I will be taking this fight with White Tiger. Game plan is the usual that I've been using against basically any Hulkling so far this season. Get to a special 2, throw it, let the nullify on the bleed, get me back up to another special 2, and then just repeat the process until he falls over. Usually I don't even really need the bleed to expire to get back to another special 2, but either way, that is there for me to take advantage of, and I will, making Hulkling, well, not really much of a threat on defense. He will trigger the unblockable here a few times, but fighting Hulkling without him actually touching you at all is fairly simple. He just keeps spamming the specials, and I keep spamming mine until the fight is done, and I finish the fight at full health due to the health steal and the fact that, well, he never touched me. Either way, next up we have a Korg here on the Buffet Overtime node, along with Arc Overload as well, and I am taking the fight with Toad. Overall, this matchup should be quite simple, as long as I can get some poisons on the opponent. They can't heal due to the spare and the poisons lowering their regeneration rate, and that's essentially all I really need to do here. Spam special once, keep the poisons up, and repeat until the fight is done. Now for whatever reason, this defender was placed with the recoil masteries, which is both a good and a bad thing. It's good in that he's gonna be taking a ton of recoil damage whenever he uses a special, but also any mistake I make will be amplified by the amount of damage I am gonna take. And that said, it was noticeable when I got comboed at the start of the fight. I tried to go for the heavy denial, but I messed it up and I got punished for it. Either way, at this point the fight is basically under control. I am managing the rock stacks well, I'm not hitting into it with specials or mediums, and now, well, he's almost dead. Poisons as well as the recoil will do short work of it going forward, though I will need to use a potion or two, because, well, I messed up. Either way, since this defender had the recoil masteries, I will now also know that the Bullseye mini-boss I will be taking also has them, and that's gonna be a rough one, but more on that in just a little bit. Now next up we have a Black Widow Deadly Origin here on the Power Snack and 1 too many hits mini-boss node, and I'm taking the fight with White Tiger. Even though this fight is a skilled champion and I could shred it with either Dust or Toad, I like using White Tiger on this node simply due to the fact that she is Nullify immune, meaning the Power Snack node is never a problem. Now Black Widow Deadly Origin is a tactic defender, so you do need a tactic option for it, which is another reason to use White Tiger. Now the plan for me here is to only bait special 2s if I have to bait any specials, and just block it. I can fully dex it just fine, usually, but there are times where I have been caught by the tail end of the special, so I opted to just blocking it instead. Some chip damage here and there is fine. I have the health steal from the bleed as well as the willpower healing from the power sting debuffs, so overall my own health here is not really a concern. I even went ahead and threw my second special 2 there while I had a power sting on me. The damage was barely noticeable, and I don't even have to use a potion now since the next fight I'm gonna be taking has a ton of regen for me to steal. Either way, that matchup can be scary if Black Widow gets to spamming specials, but the Nullify immunity, disabling Power Snack, and just playing the fight carefully, it wasn't all that bad to deal with. Now next up we have a Gorr on the Mega Stand and when I open mini-boss node as usual, and I will be taking the fight with White Tiger. Now as usual the game plan is to just play this fight a little bit slower, go for some parry and full combos, slowly climb up to that special 2, and if Gorr uses a special I'll just try to avoid it by either dashing back if it's the special 1, or by blocking it if it is the special 2. But before that, I will do my best to get my own special 2 off before baiting any specials, because the amount of power that White Tiger steals is dependent on the amount of power the opponent has. So if they are at 3 bars or close to it, you're gonna get a lot more power from your specials, which did get me to a second special 2 straight away. Now blocking these specials hurts a lot, but the health steal that White Tiger has, especially against Gorr, is pretty insane, as you can see. I'm basically healing back everything he does, shrugging off all the damage in debuffs, and Gorr is just getting cycled with those special 2s over and over. The Mega Stand node is annoying here whenever it triggers, but being able to stack so many specials over and over again, you're gonna be knocking him down so often that it's not really a problem at all in the fight. I ended up closing it out with a full yellow bar myself, which is pretty damn good, all things considered, and I gotta say White Tiger definitely the best option for that matchup, though I know other champions can still do it well. White Tiger just does it in a very fancy way, which is nice to watch at the very least. Then next up we have a Black Panther Civil War on the Hazard Shift Shock and Bleed and Conflictor mini-boss node, and I will be taking this fight with Dust. I do have the White Magneto pre-fight here to allow me to just ignore the Conflictor node with my parries and also parry him while he has the armor ups active, even if I don't have enough tactic prowesses to prevent the opponent from shrugging debuffs. Now at this point, that basically means this defender has nothing against me, and all I gotta do is just hit him until he drops. But just to make things faster, I will go for the damage rotation with dust, climbing up to a special 3 with as much dust, or rather sand on the opponent as possible, dropping the special 3 to trigger the sandstorm, and then some special spamming until the fight is over. Now dust being immune to both shock and bleed basically means that the Hazard node here does absolutely nothing except ramp up her sands even faster due to the dupe ability on dust, inflicting the opponent with more sand if the bleed immunity ever triggers. At this point the fight is over, couple special 2s, well, a single special 2 followed by a single medium, and the fight is done. Barely any health lost, and I didn't even have the recoil masteries on, meaning all that damage was just from Dust's own abilities as well as any boosts I have on. Fight went pretty well, not much else to say about that one, though Black Panther can be a very scary opponent on some nodes, and a single mistake, getting caught by him, can get all that damage reflected back to you, which is enough to completely nuke you if you have hit him enough beforehand. So definitely a matchup where you don't wanna make any mistakes. Then we have an Adam Warlock on the power efficiency and whatever the Panther miniboss node is, I can't remember its name ever to save my life. Either way, I am taking the fight with White Tiger, and the game plan is to just parry a lot at the start of the fight to ramp up the tactic prowesses, and then try to bait a special 2. If he doesn't throw it, just push him to a special 3 with the invulnerability boost, bait it out, eat it, and just spam your own special 2s to nuke him down as quickly as possible. Now MD is really helping me out here by getting me those special 2s faster, and overall the fight is quite simple as long as Adam Warlock decides to actually throw the special 2 and doesn't just dance around doing absolutely nothing. If he uses the special 1 to start off with, the fight can get quite scary, but as long as you have the fear passive active, he can't trigger the unblockable, so you are free to parry that as well if you wish. And now, next up we have a very scary 7-star rank 3 Bullseye on the Storming Inflection and Polkarat Power Miniboss node with the recoil masteries, and I'm taking the fight with Toad. So yeah, not only is this guy a 7-star rank 3, the recoil masteries beefing up his damage output makes this a very not so fun matchup. The chip damage on this guy is insane, and it didn't help that I tried to hit into his evade. I'm melting so quickly here, and it's basically just a race to the finish line at this point. If Bullseye decides to be annoying and I take the brute force damage, I'm in trouble. I gotta watch out for the brute force, the Storming Inflection, his specials, the tactic, all of that, while trying to just get him down as soon as possible, and everything can go wrong in that fight. This time though, even though I made a mistake, I lived to tell the tale, and I didn't increase my death count, at least not yet. Gotta say though, I didn't really expect seeing the recoil masteries on there until I took the Korg, and at that point I was sweating bullets when I got to the fight, but luckily this time I managed to get through it. As for the results, we did end up losing the war 5-7. Very unfortunate, but it is what it is. TCN is playing incredibly well this season.